Hey, good Tuesday evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Illinois Freedom Caucus Tuesday night roundtable, as we've got a couple of important subjects to discuss tonight. Gentlemen, another beautiful harvest day, another beautiful harvest week. Looks like it's going to be another week or 10 days. There's no rain in the forecast. It looks like it's going to be another great week or 10 days or so as harvest continues to pick up speed and momentum. And hopefully everyone out there is staying safe and giving the farm machinery and the farm trucks plenty of room, because as you well know, living in farm country, the machinery is big and wide and moves a lot slower than your vehicle does. So anyhow, with that, welcome, gentlemen. What's happening?
Just working hard. Lots of things going on here in the 88th. Had a really good meeting Sunday afternoon up in McLean County. They got their election judges together for a little barbecue. A lot of camaraderie, good folks. They're all revved up in McLean County, getting ready for the election day.
Okay.
We're just keeping going.
Great. And Chris, what's happening over your neighborhood?
Well, with the beautiful harvest weather, I mainly just been driving around in circles as soon as the dew gets off until the dew comes in the evening. But the soybean crop has been excellent so far, and the weather's been beautiful. So a great day to do that again, all over again. Be nice if the prices would go up a little bit, but somehow there's always that it'll be enough this time too.
Yeah, exactly. And Director Colin Mosley, since we're not in session, your life is probably a lot easier, but maybe not. What have you been working on?
Well, it just kind of depends. It's day by day here in Illinois. So had a nice time yesterday at Arthur Christian School, getting to meet with some young kids that are going to head out into the workforce and into beyond their high school years very soon. And a great lunch at Yoder's Kitchen. That's always the highlight of my trips to Arthur. And we're going to have a great town hall in Champaign County this evening. So
yeah, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So with that, gentlemen, let's get into our slide set. We're going to talk about Illinois' amazing financial position and some tax cuts for our neighbors. And with that, we'll go to our next slide. Hopefully it will advance sometime here this evening. There we go. So lots of numbers here on the left side of the panel. Gentlemen, we see the assets are what they are, but the bigger issue is the bills, the liabilities, the bonded debt. I see here one number that's kind of stunning. $37,000 is the each taxpayer's share of the bills. I'll just kind of open it up, and gentlemen, talk about any of this stuff on here that comes to mind that's important to you.
Well, I think
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, one thing that's important is in order to fix a problem, you have to be able to know what the numbers are. And I know last year when we proposed a forensic audit, everybody, at least on the other side of the aisle, and even some on our side of the aisle, were apoplectic at the thought of doing a deep dive into where all the money's going. And there's one thing that we know is figures don't lie and liars don't figure. And unfortunately, there's been many shell games and many illusions about our financial state here in the state of Illinois, and what the Democrats' policies with taxing, borrowing, spending, over-regulating, they have spun us into oblivion. And the part that people don't realize is we don't have a printing press like the feds do. And so the only way that they generate income is by confiscation from the hardworking Illinois public that's struggling to pay their bills at this current time. And so this is excellent information, and it's information that the general public needs to know.
Exactly. Dan, you have a thought?
Well, it's also, isn't this 2022? Isn't this the information from 2022? Because the state has failed to do the financial reporting that they're required to do.
Well, some of it is projected 23 numbers because they don't have the official numbers because the state's behind. So some of it's 22 data, some of it's 23 projections.
And the $37,000 per taxpayer, that number changes because of the outflow of our population. I guess this is very, very concerning. First of all, secondly, it's deceptively, I think, reported. Our debt and the debt per individual. I mean, you can't make that up. I mean, there's no way to make that up without massive spending cuts, without substantial reform. And unless the people of Illinois finally decide that they've had enough, we're going to continue down this path, for years to come. We've said it. I go back to 7 years ago when we were running, Chris. What did we say? Illinois doesn't have a revenue problem. They have a spending problem.
Exactly.
And we said it 7 years ago when we were on the campaign trail. And we've said it every opportunity we've had since then. If the Democrats were serious about fixing this problem, they would put together a bipartisan effort and come to some agreements on how we cut spending, how we trim this budget. And I think people would vote for it. I think you'd get a bipartisan support for it. But as long as the Democrats continue to railroad their budget, their spending plans through the General Assembly, it's going to be very hard to fix.
Yeah, it is. And gentlemen, the numbers that stick out to me, and we've been talking about this for a number of years, is this unfunded pension benefits and the unfunded retirement health care. That is $170 billion and continues to grow every day. We've been talking about this pension situation for well over a dozen years. There's been a couple of weak attempts to try to fix that problem, but it just continues to get worse. And there's no desire. I mean, we can't even deal with property taxes in an orderly fashion. And what do we do with property taxes is we just form yet another task force, and the reports never show up, and no meaningful reform ever happens to property taxes. And this is yet a bigger deal, and they're not even trying on this one.
One thing that we've been trying to do is sound the alarm of what is actually going on, and I don't know whether one thing we know is the fake news isn't really reporting accurately, so we know that's a problem. But I mean, just think about since Dan and I came into office, they've in round numbers, they've ballooned the budget and increased spending by almost $15 billion. And keep in mind, this is the same time we've been bleeding businesses. We've been bleeding jobs. We've been bleeding population. We lost a congressional seat, but their appetite for spending is completely out of control.
Yeah. So you see the effect of the lack of pension reform is having, and it's not just on the taxpayers of Illinois, all of us, but it's also down at the local level, the county level, the city level, the village level. Right. The cost of providing all of these pension services. I got a phone call last night from a constituent that we're getting letters in the mail this week from about our property taxes for next year. And she called me and she said, I got an 18% increase in my property tax. What in the world is going on? And how are we going to pay this? And why? And it's the cost of government and the state through its mandates, unfunded mandates, through the cost of providing pensions and healthcare to our employees. There's no other place to go. And you see it. And it gets down to, so how can we afford to stay in Illinois? What are we going to do? Two ladies up in Bloomington Sunday, they're selling out. They're retiring the end of next year, or not the end of next year, but next year they're selling their place up in Bloomington, and they're going to move to Chattanooga, Tennessee, where they can rent a 2-bedroom apartment for less than $2,000 a month with utilities, and be done with Illinois. and they've lived here all their lives. And that's just a typical scenario that I run into in the district.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're hearing that more and more here all the time. People that would have never considered leaving their families, leaving their lives behind 5 years ago are doing it rapidly now. And I think, they're moving to states that are much higher than 48 out of 50. That's what always strikes me. Why are we always 47, 48, 49, and the governor is a complete, I guess, ranking denier. We'll add that to his list of denier syndrome. I mean, because if you ask the governor, Illinois is in excellent financial shape. We got credit ratings that were upgraded, whatever, but the numbers don't lie, Governor. And as Dan said on the next slide, it's alluded to, but the burden gets harder to share the fewer of us there are in Illinois. And it's not, I can't blame anybody for leaving.
Yeah, Colin, as we leave this slide, you've touched on the number is 48 out of 50. We're always on the wrong end of these lists. And here's the thing that's remarkable to me is this big fat F. I know that when I was in school, those are the letter grades that I wanted to avoid. I hope you gentlemen wanted to avoid those numbers. I don't even know if they give those out anymore, but this is a bad deal.
Not if you're a migrant student, you don't get any of those.
That's right. Chicago. If you're a migrant student in Chicago, you just get moved right on down the line. It's all good. All right, next slide, gentlemen. As we kind of talk about these tax cuts, what's going on in our neighboring states. Wire Points has done some great reporting on this with at the report that was done with Jeff Daly in the radio station there in Decatur. We see this population loss that you gentlemen have kind of referred to. Our neighboring states are beneficiaries. The senator states are beneficiaries of this, but it's all about tax policy. The bottom line is it's all about tax policy. What's your thoughts tonight, gentlemen?
No, I mean, we haven't seen the next shoe drop in tax policy, and I've talked about it, and I will continue to talk about it. The next shoe to drop will be the income tax. That's the only place left that the Democrats can go to get the amount of money they need to pay for their pork spending, vote buying schemes that prop up the state of Illinois. And I guarantee you, if it doesn't come this year, FY26, and even if they raise the income tax, I don't know how it's going to create the negative effect. As we see, when you raise the price of something, you get less of it. Mm-hmm. And when you raise the income tax on people, it will create the next tsunami of folks leaving the state. And it'll be the people that own companies that provide jobs, and I think that'll be the straw, and we'll see companies flee this state as their employees are looking for another place to work or another state to work in. And when there's no workforce and the cost of doing business in Illinois is so high, that will trigger the next tsunami. We're already seeing it in Chicago with property taxes. There was an article in Cranes that talked about the people that invest, the investors in commercial property in Chicago, and they're taking their money out of state. And there are properties in Chicago that are going for a fraction of what their assessed value is, because the people that own that property will do anything to get out of Chicago, get their money out of Chicago, and invest it somewhere where they get a decent return. It's just starting.
Well, Dan, you talked about the people that you talked to over the weekend, 18% increase in the real estate taxes. When you do the math on it, that means that doubles in 9 years. So if they're paying a $10,000 a year tax bill, 9 years from now, that becomes a $20,000 tax bill. The math is not hard here. And why our colleagues and the governor in the General Assembly does not understand this, it's just beyond me.
Oh. Still there.
Yep. Hey, let's go on to our last slide, and this is going to be the town hall that's going on at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about it. This will be in progress as we are live this evening, but we'll report back about how well it goes here next week.
Yeah, and
the thing on this is, we've been in Randolph County last week, Champaign County tonight. Invite us to a county near you. We'd love to come see you.
Right. Right. And this is all the ways to get a hold of us. Colin, you manage all of the website and the Substack. This is all the ways to get a hold of us. Any closing thoughts as we kind of wind this down for this evening?
Well, it's great to great time of the year. People are enjoying this, but I'm telling you, we've got another storm coming through Florida. I watched earlier today, this morning, I was watching some YouTube videos from Chimney Rock. Our East Coast has been devastated. You have no idea. And the response from the federal government, over a week for the federal government to activate Army resources, get the National Guard out. You have no idea what it looks like, and I put that in context. We live in an area where there's tornadoes, and the destruction that you see from a tornado. If this is the way that our FEMA and government responds to disasters, folks, you got to take care of yourselves, because they're not going to be there to help you. You need to think about the natural disasters and tornadoes, ice storms. You need to be prepared. And this is a lesson that I hope we all learn. The government is not going to be there to help you.
No, that's exactly right. And the more video that comes out of East Tennessee and the Carolinas, the worse it gets. Gentlemen, my heart just breaks for those folks there. Entire infrastructure that's just blown completely up will take many, many years or decades to rebuild, if at all. I mean, I just can't imagine the cost of what some of that stuff's going to be. Leader Chairman Miller, any last remarks on your end?
Well, my thoughts is that we continue to be the beacon of truth, logic, and common sense. This is the no spin zone, and you're getting nothing but the truth from all of us here this evening. And it's important for you to stay informed about what's going on in the state of Illinois, and it would be critical to fixing our state by firing the frauds and heading in a different direction in November.
Right, exactly. All right. And Colin, unless you have anything else to close us out with, we're going to close out for the night and say good night.
Get out and vote.
Get out and vote. Talk to you soon, everyone.